The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor like the steam fitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage theft, and daily working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.
This episode is brought to you by Marqeta. When it comes to your payments provider, you can't afford to compromise. Marqeta's modern payment solutions flex with your business without the trade-offs. Stable and agile, secure and innovative, scalable and configurable. If they say you can't have it all, don't believe them. Your business demands more. Choose a payments provider that delivers more. Choose Marqeta. Visit marqeta.com/Spotify to learn more.
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg,
Suffolk County Republican Committee Chairman Jesse Garcia,
and essayist and commentator Eric Lavine on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to Let the Record Show with Chairman Jesse Garcia of the Republican Party. Jesse is the Vice Chair of the New York State Republican Party and the County Chair of the Suffolk County Republican Party. With us is our co-host, Eric Lavine, noted attorney, commentator, and essayist, and I'm Judge Richard Weinberg. We're delighted, privileged, honored to have the senior senator from the state of Florida, Rick Scott, with us as our guest for the first segment. Senator Scott is a former governor of the state of Florida, very distinguished and successful businessman before going into politics. Did a wonderful job as governor. He's a great leader of the United States Senate. And Senator, we're absolutely thrilled to have you with us today. Welcome to Let the Record Show.
Well, it's nice to be with y'all, and thank you for doing this, and thank you for caring about our country.
Well, I'm turning you over for the first round of questioning to our friend Eric Lavine.
Senator, thank you. I mean, our listeners should know. I think most people know who you are, but people should know what a great, decent human being you are. Certainly, in person, and a great supporter you are of capitalism and the American way and the Jewish community. And I want to be on record for thanking you for all of that. So,
well, thanks.
So
I grew up in a good country. I got lucky.
There you go. We should all count that blessing. So the two biggest issues facing the country today. One domestic, one international. Let's start with the international one, and that's the hostage deal going on in Gaza right now. Hats off and kudos to President Trump for pulling this off. But I want to ask you, hopefully it will happen. All the hostages will be released. God help us if Hamas does not release them. But operating from the premise that they do, what's the next step? What's the likelihood that Hamas is ever going to lay down their arms and agree to disarm and leave? Count me skeptical.
Well, I think we all have to be skeptical, right? Let's start with who we ought to thank. We ought to thank President Trump. He's busted his butt to get this done, and I know Prime Minister Netanyahu does not want war. He wants peace. He wants these hostages home. So I think you have to really admire the two of them. Now, does Hamas do what they're saying they're going to do? I don't know. I hope for the families in Israel that every hostage is released, all the bodies are brought back. That would be, by itself, that's historic. And then it's really going to be it's going to be up to Hamas. If they don't lay down their weapons, if they don't allow the Gazans to live under better governance, then they're gonna this won't end. But I'm skeptical. I mean Hamas has never. There's so many groups and people in the world that have, like Xi in China and Putin and the Ayatollah and people like that. They've never done what they said they're going to do. They're just a bunch of liars. And every Hamas leader I've ever heard about has been a liar, and so I hope Qatar eventually kicks him out of Qatar, and so just a despicable group of people.
Yeah, it's going to be tough prying them out of their jacuzzis in Qatar. They really enjoy that there. I think
everybody enjoys jacuzzis.
Well, Hamas leadership in particular, probably because they've been spending the last decade or so there. To me, the single greatest achievement in the Trump policy, or the thing that made it possible, and I'm just curious if you would agree with this, is that Trump allowed Israel to win. Historically, the Palestinians, or in this case Hamas, always, when they started a war, always relied on the fact that they would try and have as many of their civilians killed, and using them as human shields, and then trying to win a public relations war, and having the world step in and stop Israel from winning, and they would just continue to say no in terms of making any concessions. And as we've seen from Spain and UK and Portugal and France and Australia and Canada recognizing a Palestinian state, that they would get more and more and more and more just by saying no. But in this circumstance, Trump didn't take no for an answer. He allowed Israel to go finish the job and finally persuaded the Arab countries, in particular Qatar, but also brought in some Muslim countries like Indonesia and Pakistan, that they were not going to be prevented, that Trump was not going to stop the Israelis from winning if Hamas did not make concessions. And that's why they ultimately surrendered. I mean, do you share that view?
That makes sense. Look, here's the thing. You really have to admire Netanyahu and the leadership of Israel. You have to admire the IDF. I mean, what they did with the pagers, with the Hezbollah, what they've done with the Houthis, how they've demolished the leadership and so many of the Hamas fighters by attacking Iran for what they've done. Look, none of this would have happened if Israel didn't have the fortitude to stand up for itself, right? And stand up against world opinion. And you're right, Trump backed Israel even when world opinion was often against them. I'm hopeful that this is the end of the conflict. I'm skeptical that Hamas really will lay down its arms, but I believe in a supreme being, and often prayers are answered.
Yeah, miracles have happened. This would count among them. I would have to agree with you. So let's just shift gears to second for the big domestic issue of the day, and that's the government shutdown. So, as I understand it, for the most part, the Democrats are fighting. Chuck Schumer is fighting. He's not sure why, but he's fighting to extend the temporary Obamacare subsidies that were put in place during COVID, and they were supposed to go away, but they have not, and they want to extend them. So I think it speaks to two issues. One, of course, it speaks to the failure of Obamacare, speaks to the lies. You lost your doctors, you couldn't keep them. It didn't bend the cost curve down. It made it go up. But I also think it speaks to the issue of Republicans not having a health care plan of their own in response to the failed Obama plan. So my first question is, when do you think, because at some point we're going to have to fund the government, under what circumstance will it be opened and when? And secondly, will the Republicans look to modify, amend, repeal, or do something about Obamacare and improve the health care system in the United States?
Well, first off, government will get open when Chuck Schumer and the Democrats decide that it's going to get open. 52 of the 53 Republicans voted to do it. We need 8 Democrats. So Chuck Schumer's scared to death of AOC. So if the government being open is about that. Now, it's shut down because, Schumer hates Trump, right? Now think about it. He shut down the government over continuing to spend a Biden budget that he passed. Now, I didn't vote for the Biden budget. I don't like this continuing resolution, but I voted for it because I don't want government shut down. So he's voting for something that he worked his butt off to get passed. And here's the problem. And here's why it's going to be difficult. Number one, what he wants Republicans to vote for is to give health care to illegals. It's not going to happen. He wants Republicans to vote to have taxpayers pay for abortions. That's not going to happen. He wants Republicans to vote to use taxpayer money to pay for trans surgery. That's not going to happen. On top of that, this does not do anything to fix Obamacare. Obamacare has caused these premiums to go up. All that these subsidies they're not poor people. The subsidies for the people 400% of poverty and less, it stays. It doesn't change, right? It's for people that might be worth $1 million. They've gotten subsidies because Biden didn't want people to see the explosion in the cost of Obamacare. So I've been talking about this for a long time. We have to drive down the cost of delivery of health care. We got to give people the opportunity to buy the health care they want, right? We got to stop telling them how to buy. We got to give them a lot more options. And people have to have skin in the game. If you can afford it, you have to pay for a portion of your health care. So if you do that, then we basically the way I look at it is we got to fix Obamacare. Premiums are up since Obamacare came in, up 140%. There's less choices. I mean, think about Obama said, you're not going to lose your doctor. You did. You can keep your plan. You can't. Okay. It's going to cost less. No, it costs more. The industry, hospitals, insurance companies, drug companies, they're all making record profits, unbelievable profits, right? And so what's going to hurt is the less choice for the American, that needs health care, and the American taxpayer is paying for this.
Jesse,
so I agree with you. We got to have a plan. I've had a plan of how we can fix health care. So I'm gonna work hard to get it passed.
Well, good luck.
Jesse, your turn with the senator.
Senator, thank you for joining us. And first, let me begin by thanking you for your service, first in the military, then in the Navy, then as governor of the great state of Florida, and, of course, now as a senior senator from Florida. So let's talk about Florida and New York. I think that between your ad, which ran above New York skyline, it said, hate socialism, us too, move to Florida. Great piece to try and get more voters down to Florida. But I think what has you trumped is basically probably Kathy Hochul, our governor here. She's probably the real estate agent of the month repeatedly for Florida down there.
Every month.
My problem with is that, Republicans and like-minded independents and unaffiliated voters, we're the smart ones, and they're moving to Florida. We need to keep them here. We need to have a Republican governor so that we can bring some common sense here. But as you see these two issues, you see almost a tale of two states. The states that you led first as governor, now as a senator. And then when you see what's going on in New York and other blue states, the differences in which the quality of life is different for those in blue states versus states like Florida. And I think that maybe we can point out, maybe focus in more so than ever. Probably the differences had a big light shine on them during COVID. Would you just get a comment on that?
Well, if you think about what's the average New Yorker or Floridian want, right? Number one, what they want is they have a job, a good paying job. Okay, so if you make it more difficult for companies, which New York and New York City does all the time, you're going to have fewer jobs. So it's not a great job market. All right, that's number one. Number two is you want great schools. New York used to be known for great schools. That's not the case anymore. Number three is you want to be safe. All right, under Democrats, many cities like New York City are not as safe as they used to be. And so as a result, people are moving because they want better schools, they want better jobs, and they want to be safe. That's not going to change as long as you elect people like Hochul and Mondami. And just think what Mondami is going to do. If you're rich, you'll be fine in New York. And if you're poor, maybe there'll be enough handouts. If you're in the middle, you're going to have to pay all these ridiculous taxes to pay for government-run grocery stores that won't have any groceries on the shelves, all sorts of stuff like that. It's crazy. And then he's going to defund the police. I mean, this is like stupidity.
Senator, let me ask you. I'm sorry. Senator, let me ask you this question. You raised Mondami. And the problem people like Jesse and Eric and I have is he's totally unprepared to run a $116 billion budget, and you're governor of a great state.
That's the least of it. He's a communist Jew hater.
Well, that was my next point. So he's totally inexperienced. he's going to feather the nest of all these NGOs, non-government organizations, with his political supporters. He's is an Islamist. He's an apologist for Hamas. He is a socialist/communist. He's all these dangerous things. And he wants to have his own foreign policy. And his own foreign policy consists of, if Netanyahu comes here for meetings or to go to the UN to speak, he says he's going to have him arrested under this warrant out of this fraudulent court, the International Criminal Court. What are your thoughts about that, Senator?
You can think about his budget for how many people in New York City? Is it like? I mean, I had 20 million. I think I had 23 million people left. My budget was $87 billion for Florida.
I think we have about 9 million.
I was going to say 9 million in the New York metropolitan
City.
area. Yeah.
So think about that. I had better schools, better universities, and safer. And I had a smaller budget than that for more than twice the people. I mean, it's crazy. And it's the poorest. And you know who gets hurt the most is the poorest families. I mean, like he's a socialist or communist. Who get ultimately hurt? The poorest families. You know, the rich move. It's way easier for them to move around than it is for the poor. And so as jobs go away, and taxes have to go up to pay because the rich leave, they're paying most of the taxes, and there's no tax revenue. So everybody's taxes have to go up, which means more people leave. I mean, it's just a death spiral for poor families.
You know, Senator, Jesse's family are people who fled communist tyranny in Cuba, and they come to the United States for freedom, opportunity, religious freedom, freedom of speech. A great new world opens to them. And then you have this character, Mondami, who wants to bring all the failings of socialism and dictatorship over to our shores. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I'm disappointed that if he came from Cuba, he's not in Miami. Because as you know, Miami is the capital of Latin America.
Well, I heard the Cuban community there wouldn't let him in.
By the way, you guys all know that you're eventually all going to live in Florida. I mean, it's just a matter of time. You're not going to live it the rest of your life.
I already have, as you know, Senator, I already have my place down there. It's all set.
All right, you're all coming. It's just when you come. But I mean, think of how many people came from Cuba or Venezuela or Argentina or Chile or Nicaragua. And they left socialism to get, because they wanted opportunities. And this is the land of opportunity. Now you have to work hard. It's not a land where we're going to give you everything for free. This is the land where if you work your butt off, you can be anything. But under socialism, it doesn't matter how hard you work. You're going to be your opportunities are going to be limited. So you'll move. I mean, that's what, it's just too bad. I mean, the center of capitalism for the United States was in New York City for so long. And just day by day, you just see capitalism is moving out of New York City. And the biggest beneficiary is Florida.
Senator, on behalf of Jesse and Eric and myself, I want to thank you very much for joining us today on Let the Record Show. It's wonderful having somebody of your real-life ability, your patriotism, your devotion to this country and its ideals in the United States Senate. I thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to having you again one day soon on Let the Record Show. Thank you for being with us.
Have a great day.
Yeah,
right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's time to take a break on Let the Record Show. We want to thank Senator Rick Scott of the great state of Florida for being with us. We'll be back in about a few moments with more interesting and important conversation on our next segment of this week's Let the Record Show. Stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to Let the Record Show with Judge Weinberg, Chairman Jesse Garcia, and Eric Lavine. You can hear Let the Record Show Sunday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor like the steam fitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage theft, and daily working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.